For nearly 3 centuries, one empire stood above all others. Its capital impressed the world. Its armies rewrote the map. Then, almost quietly, it began to fall. This is how China went from its most powerful dynasty to complete collapse. In the year 618, China was exhausted. The Sui dynasty had just fallen after years of heavy taxes, forced labor, and endless war. The people were tired. The country was unstable. Rebellions broke out everywhere. Then, a general named Li Yuan stepped forward. He marched into the capital and declared a new dynasty. This was the beginning of the Tang Dynasty. But the real turning point came with his son, Li Shimin, later known as Emperor Taizong. He didn't inherit power peacefully. In 626, he killed his own brothers in a struggle for the throne and forced his father to step down. It was violent and ruthless. But once he became emperor, he ruled wisely. Taizong reduced corruption by cutting unnecessary government jobs. He improved the civil service exams so talented people, not just rich families, could serve the state. He created food storage systems to protect people from famine. He listened to the people. China became stable again and became powerful. The Tang military was organized and disciplined. Soldiers trained constantly. Generals were chosen for ability. The government controlled troop movements carefully, so no one commander could rebel easily. The Tang expanded fast. They defeated powerful nomadic groups in the north. They pushed west into Central Asia and secured control of the Silk Road. They gained influence over parts of Korea. At its peak, the Tang Empire stretched across millions of square miles. It was larger than the Roman Empire had ever been. Trade exploded. Silk and porcelain moved west. Gold, silver, spices, and ideas came to the east. The capital city, Chang'an, became the global center. It had over 1 million residents inside its walls, maybe 3 million including nearby areas. Think about that. In the 8th century, while European cities were small and muddy, Chang'an was massive and organized. It had markets, gardens, temples, and wide streets laid out in a grid. People from all over the world walked its streets. Multiple religions existed side by side. The city was diverse and open. Art flourished. Poetry reached new heights. Famous poets like Li Bai and Du Fu wrote lines that people still memorize today. Painters, sculptors, dancers, and musicians thrived. Printing technology improved. Education expanded. For a time, China under the Tang was unmatched. But no empire stays at the top forever. Success brought new problems. The Tang had expanded so far that defending the borders became difficult. Frontier regions were placed under military governors called jiedushi. These men controlled local armies and collected taxes. At first, this system worked. Over time, it became dangerous. Some began acting like independent rulers. The central government grew weaker. In 755, disaster struck. A powerful general named An Lushan launched a rebellion. He commanded a large army in the northeast. With tens of thousands of experienced soldiers, he marched towards the capital. Chang'an fell quickly. The emperor fled, and his empire was thrown into chaos. The rebellion lasted 8 long years. Millions died from famine and disease. Entire regions were destroyed. Although the Tang eventually crushed the rebellion, the damage was permanent. The central government never fully recovered. The jiedushi kept their power. Tax revenue dropped. The army was stretched thin. Trust between the throne and regional leaders collapsed. Now, who was to stop foreign enemies from taking advantage? Tibet seized parts of Western territory. Other border areas slipped out of Tang control. The Silk Road became less secure. Trade slowed. Inside the empire, tensions were growing. In the early Tang period, the dynasty had welcomed foreign traders and religions. Now, fear replaced openness. Suspicion of outsiders increased. In some cities, violence broke out against foreign merchants. The mood of the empire had changed. Religious persecution followed. In 845, thousands of Buddhist temples were destroyed in a government crackdown. The state needed money and saw temple wealth as a target. Monks were forced to return to normal life. Cultural diversity shrank. Natural disasters made everything worse. Floods damaged farmland and droughts ruined crops. In 874, a large peasant rebellion began under a leader named Huang Chao. His forces captured major cities. In 881, They seized Chang'an again and looted it. The once glorious capital was now in ruins. Although the Tang suppressed this rebellion too, the dynasty was finished in spirit. Regional leaders controlled their own armies. The emperor had little real authority left. But collapse is never just about battles and politics. It's also about people. When the Tang began to weaken, ordinary citizens felt it first. Farmers struggled to pay taxes to both the central government and local military governors. Soldiers who once protected the borders were now loyal to regional commanders instead of the emperor. Trade routes became less secure, which meant fewer goods and higher prices in markets. Life slowly became harder. In the early Tang period, opportunity felt real. A smart young man from a poor family could study, pass the civil service exam, and become an official. Merchants could grow rich through Silk Road trade. Artists could find support at court. But as corruption increased and power shifted to regional warlords, those pathways narrowed. The capital, once the shining heart of the empire, no longer felt safe. After the An Lushan Rebellion, Chang'an never fully recovered its former glory. Foreign merchants stopped arriving in the same numbers. Cultural exchange slowed. The confidence that had defined the Tang Golden Age disappeared. Fear had replaced ambition. Regional leaders began acting like kings in their own lands. They built private armies and ignored imperial commands. The emperor became a figurehead. The idea of a unified China, so carefully built by earlier Tang rulers, started to unravel. And once unity breaks, rebuilding it is never easy. By the early 900s, the dynasty was exhausted. Emperors were weak. Court politics were filled with rival factions. Natural disasters continued. The people had lost faith. When the Tang finally ended in 907, there was no dramatic final battle. The dynasty simply faded, replaced by smaller competing states. The most powerful empire of its time had dissolved from within. Why did such a powerful dynasty collapse? Because its fall wasn't sudden. It was gradual. First came overexpansion. The empire stretched too far. Then came decentralization. Military governors grew stronger than the emperor. Then came rebellion. The An Lushan uprising weakened everything. After that, economic decline and natural disasters accelerated the fall. Power had shifted away from the center. The Tang Dynasty showed how strength can hide weakness. Its military victories created confidence, but they also created vulnerability. Managing a vast empire required constant balance. When that balance broke, recovery became impossible. Yet the Tang left a lasting legacy. Its systems of government influenced later dynasties. Its global connections changed trade across Eurasia. Even in collapse, its memory endured. The Tang period became a symbol of greatness in Chinese history. But it also became a warning. Empires fall not only from outside attack, but from internal strain. When power spreads too thin and leaders trust the wrong people, even the strongest systems can fail. China under the Tang rose higher than ever before, and it fell harder than anyone expected. From global dominance to fragmentation in less than 3 centuries. History doesn't move in straight lines. It rises and falls. The Tang Dynasty reminds us that even the most powerful civilization can collapse if it can't adapt to its own success. And that's how China went from the most powerful dynasty to complete collapse.